Moderates need not apply. Really and truly, think back. Who are your heroes? Look back over biblical history. I have, over decades, made a study of the prophets in the Old Testament, as well as the judges of the book of Judges, as well as the kings of Israel, and blended them together, looking at when the nation of Israel was in a moral crisis, when they were overrun by their enemies, when God turned the sky to brass and withheld the rain so that there was massive economic calamity, starvation, upheaval, and looked at that, and then looked at America in the light of those biblical passages. Because the New Testament says that these things are there for our learning, so that we don't make the same mistakes that they did. All right? And we are in a time when America is unraveling, coming under the judgment of God. And we watch, for example, what's happening at our southern border. And the cry is now starting to bubble up from the right. Impeach Obama. Impeach Obama. And maybe it's a valid war cry. I'm going to come back to it in a minute. But it almost misses the point. And it might be a bad strategy. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But what I want you to see and what I want you to understand is that the times when Israel did come back to God, look at the ministry of Elijah, all right? When he stood against the 400 prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. And he said, you build an altar and then cut up an ox. I'll build an altar, cut up an ox. But no one put fire under it. And the God who answers by fire, he's God. And the prophets of Baal did the thing. They danced, they cried, they cut themselves. And then finally, towards the evening, after it was clear that no answer was coming, Elijah called the people of Israel who were standing watching this. He called them to his altar and said, he prayed, and fire came down. And they said, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. The people fell down. The fire took up the burnt oxen. It took up the wood. It took up the stones. It took up the water. He had them pour water over it just to drench it, just to spite the prophets of Baal. And then, but before he did that, do you remember what he did? He mocked them. He said, yeah, surely Baal's a god. Maybe he's on a trip and that's why you guys can't find him. Maybe he's asleep and you got to wake him up. Maybe he's going to the bathroom and he can't be disturbed. He mocked them. There are things that are so ridiculous, things that are so evil that they should be ridiculed. And then after the fire came down, he told the people, round up the prophets of Baal and kill them all. And they took them down to the brook Kidron and killed them. Look at Gideon fighting against the Midianites. He had to destroy the village altar, the village idol rather. He sent back home most of the people, only fought with 300 men. Time and again in the scriptures, you see judges, you see prophets, you see David fighting Goliath. But it's always coupled with this belligerent defense of God's truth and promotion of God's law, and this unyielding, uncompromising declaration of what is right and why the evils and the troubles have befallen us. All right? And so I want you to consider the role that you can play as a righteous belligerent for truth, for justice, regarding the innocent lives of the babies, regarding marriage, regarding the socialist plantation, regarding the theft of our life and our goods and the redistribution of wealth, regarding our border literally being overrun. I want you to consider your own life, your own response in the light of the great heroes and prophets and judges and redeemers of the scriptures. Because if America is going to be restored, it's going to be because some of us had the metal in our spines and the cry in our throats to bring this country back to God and to moral sanity. And if we perish, the blame for it can be laid right at the doorstep of the Christian community, because we failed when we had the opportunity to restore this republic. We failed because we were afraid and because we were addicted to bread and circuses and complacency and our own comfort and our own reputation and all the toxins of the soul that Christ warned us about. So if you want to be a part of the solution, be prepared to be a zealot that offends certain people. But better that your name is known and respected in heaven and known and feared in hell than you should be a part of the lukewarm mass who does little and accomplishes nothing. I'll be right back.